there is a plant covering millions of acres in the American South that can treat alcoholism, feed families, and reverse soil damage. Yet every state government, agricultural agency, and chemical company has declared war on it. Not because it destroys ecosystems, but because it destroys their business models. The plant I am talking about is kudzu, Pueraria montana. And if you live anywhere in the southeastern United States, you have seen it. It covers trees, telephone poles, abandoned buildings, and entire hillsides. It grows up to 1 foot per day during peak season. It is called the vine that ate the South. And every agricultural extension office, every state department of natural resources, and every chemical company will tell you the same thing. Kudzu is the enemy. It must be eradicated. It is destroying America, but here is what they will not tell you. Kudzu is not native to North America. That part is true. It was brought from East Asia in the late 1800s, but it was not brought by accident. It was not an invasive species that snuck in through cargo ships. Kudzu was deliberately imported, promoted, and planted across the South by the United States government. The Soil Conservation Service paid farmers to plant kudzu in the 1930s and 40s to prevent soil erosion. It worked. Kudzu stabilized eroded hillsides, fixed nitrogen in depleted soil, and prevented dust bowl conditions in the South. The government planted over 1 million acres of kudzu intentionally. Then something changed. In the 1950s and 60s, chemical companies developed synthetic fertilizers and herbicides. Suddenly, soil conservation through plants was not profitable anymore. Kudzu went from government-promoted conservation tool to public enemy number one. The same agencies that paid people to plant it started paying people to destroy it. Today, billions of dollars are spent annually trying to kill kudzu with herbicides, cutting, and burning. And it never works. Kudzu keeps growing because kudzu is designed to survive. Let me tell you what kudzu actually is nutritionally and medicinally, because once you understand what this plant provides, you will realize why certain industries want it gone. Kudzu root contains high levels of starch. The root can grow to enormous sizes, sometimes weighing over 200 pounds. That starch is edible. In Japan and China, kudzu starch is processed into a flour called kudzu or kuzuko. It is used to make noodles, dry desserts, and thickening agents. One kudzu root provides enough starch to feed a family for weeks. That is free food, free carbohydrates, no grocery store, no industrial agriculture. Just dig up a root and process it. That threatens the entire food supply chain. But the starch is just the beginning. Kudzu leaves are edible. Young leaves can be eaten raw in salads or cooked like spinach. The leaves contain protein, vitamins, and minerals. The flowers are also edible and are used to make tea and jellies. The entire plant is food, and it grows without fertilizer, without irrigation, without human input. It just grows aggressively everywhere. That is food independence on a level that makes seed companies irrelevant, because you cannot sell seeds for a plant that reproduces itself faster than you can harvest it. Now let us talk about the medicinal properties, because this is where kudzu becomes a threat to pharmaceutical companies. Kudzu root contains compounds called isoflavones, specifically puerarin, daidzein, and daidzein. These compounds have been studied extensively in Asia and are used in traditional Chinese medicine. And the research is clear. Kudzu reduces alcohol consumption. Multiple studies have shown that kudzu extract significantly decreases the desire to drink alcohol. One study published in Alcoholism Clinical and Experimental Research found that people who took kudzu extract drank 30% to 50% less alcohol than those who took a placebo. The effect was measurable and repeatable. Kudzu makes people drink less. The mechanism is fascinating. The isoflavones in kudzu affect how the body processes alcohol. They slow down alcohol metabolism, which means alcohol stays in the system longer. This sounds counterintuitive, but the result is that people feel the effects of alcohol more quickly and with less consumption. They reach satisfaction faster and stop drinking sooner. The brain receives feedback that it has had enough before consuming dangerous amounts. This is not addiction replacement. This is natural modulation of drinking behavior, and it works without side effects, without prescriptions, and without doctor visits. Another study from Harvard Medical School found that kudzu extract increased blood flow to the brain. Participants who took kudzu showed improved cognitive function and faster reaction times. The researchers noted that puerine, one of the main compounds in kudzu, acts as a vasodilator. It opens blood vessels and improves circulation. This has implications for cardiovascular health, cognitive function, and even migraine treatment. Better circulation means better oxygen delivery to tissues. That means better healing, better brain function, and better overall health. Kudzu also shows promise for diabetes management. Research indicates that kudzu isoflavones improve insulin sensitivity and help regulate blood sugar levels. One study on animals showed that kudzu extract reduced blood glucose levels by nearly 40%. Human studies are more limited, but preliminary results suggest similar benefits. For people with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes, kudzu could be a natural supplement that helps stabilize blood sugar without pharmaceutical intervention. And again, this is free. A plant growing wild across the South that could help millions of people manage diabetes naturally. But you will never see this promoted by medical institutions. Why? Because managing diabetes with free plants does not generate revenue for pharmaceutical companies selling insulin and diabetes medications. Think about what that means. The alcohol industry in the United States generates over $250 billion annually. Alcohol addiction affects millions of people. Rehabilitation programs cost thousands of dollars. Prescription medications for alcohol dependence like naltrexone and acamprosate are expensive and have side effects. And here is a plant growing wild across millions of acres that reduces alcohol cravings naturally, for free. If people knew they could harvest kudzu root, make tea, and reduce their alcohol consumption without spending money on medications or rehab, what happens to the alcohol and pharmaceutical industries? They lose billions. That is not speculation. That is economic reality. And that is exactly why kudzu has been demonized. Not because it is dangerous, not because it destroys ecosystems, but because it threatens profits. Let me give you the 5 reasons why kudzu had to be turned into public enemy number 1. First, kudzu provides free food. The roots are edible starch, the leaves are edible greens. The flowers are edible and medicinal. One kudzu patch can feed a family indefinitely. That makes people independent from grocery stores, from seed companies, from industrial agriculture. If people started harvesting kudzu for food, billions of dollars in food sales would disappear. The entire model of annual crops, purchased seeds, and controlled supply chains breaks down when a perennial plant produces unlimited free food. Second, kudzu treats alcohol addiction naturally. The isoflavones in kudzu root reduce alcohol cravings and consumption. This has been proven in clinical studies. But alcohol is a $250 billion industry. Rehabilitation is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Pharmaceutical treatments for addiction are extremely profitable. Kudzu threatens all of it. A plant that grows wild and reduces alcohol dependence for free cannot be allowed to become common knowledge. So it had to be suppressed. And the easiest way to suppress a plant is to make people hate it. Call it invasive. Call it destructive. Make eradication the only acceptable response. Third, kudzu cannot be patented or controlled. It grows from root cuttings. It spreads through underground rhizomes. One plant creates a network that can cover acres. You cannot force people to buy kudzu every year. You cannot engineer dependency into it. You cannot sell herbicides to control it because it grows back faster than you can spray it. Kudzu is the ultimate free resource, and free resources are unacceptable in a system built on scarcity and control. If people have access to free food and medicine, they do not need corporations. That is exactly why kudzu had to be vilified. Fourth, kudzu competes with chemical agriculture. The plant fixes nitrogen in the soil. It prevents erosion. It improves soil quality naturally. In the 1930s and 40s, before synthetic fertilizers, kudzu was promoted for exactly these reasons. But once chemical companies developed profitable fertilizers and herbicides, kudzu became a problem. Why? Because if farmers use kudzu for soil improvement, they do not buy chemical fertilizers. If people recognize kudzu as food, they do not buy seeds and inputs. The entire agricultural chemical industry depends on farmers and gardeners buying products every year. Kudzu eliminates that need, so it had to be reclassified from conservation tool to invasive pest. And fifth, kudzu challenges the narrative of control. Modern agriculture is built on the idea that nature is chaotic and must be controlled through human intervention, chemicals, and technology. Kudzu is nature refusing to be controlled. It grows despite herbicides. It spreads despite eradication efforts. It thrives in poor soil, drought, and neglect. Kudzu represents wildness, independence, and resilience. Those qualities are threats to systems that depend on making people believe they need experts, products, and permissions to grow food. If kudzu is allowed to be seen as beneficial, people might start questioning what else they have been lied to about. And that is dangerous to every industry built on manufactured dependence. Now let me address the claim that kudzu is ecologically destructive. This is the primary argument used to justify eradication. The official story is that kudzu smothers native plants, destroys forests, and harms biodiversity. And there is some truth to that. Kudzu does grow aggressively and can cover other vegetation. But here's the context they never mention. Kudzu thrives in disturbed, degraded environments. It grows on roadsides, clear-cut forests, abandoned fields, and eroded hillsides. These are not pristine ecosystems. These are areas already destroyed by human activity. Kudzu is a secondary colonizer. It moves into spaces that humans have already damaged. In healthy, intact forests, kudzu does not spread aggressively. Mature tree canopies block sunlight, and kudzu cannot compete without full sun. The areas where kudzu dominates are areas that were already ecologically compromised. So blaming kudzu for destroying ecosystems is like blaming a bandage for the wound. Kudzu is responding to damage, not causing it. But acknowledging that would require admitting that industrial agriculture, logging, and development created the conditions for kudzu to spread. And that admission threatens the industries responsible. So instead, kudzu is the villain. And billions are spent spraying herbicides on a plant that is actually trying to heal damaged land. Let us talk about how kudzu is used in Asia, because while America declares war on kudzu, Asia cultivates it. In Japan, kudzu root starch is a premium product. Kudzu powder is used in traditional sweets as a thickening agent and in medicinal teas. In China, kudzu root called gigen is a standard component of traditional medicine. It is used to treat fevers, headaches, and digestive issues. The flowers are dried and used in herbal teas. The young shoots are eaten as vegetables. Kudzu is not considered invasive in Asia. It is considered valuable. The difference is cultural and economic. In Asia, kudzu is integrated into food and medicine systems. In America, it threatens the industrial food and pharmaceutical systems. So in America, it must be destroyed. Here's how you can use kudzu if you have access to it. First, identify it correctly. Kudzu has large, three-lobed leaves. The vines are woody and grow rapidly. The flowers are purple and fragrant, appearing in late summer. The roots are deep and extensive. For food, harvest young leaves in spring. Wash them thoroughly and use them like any leafy green. Sauté with garlic, add to soups, or eat them raw in salads. The flavor is mild and slightly sweet. For starch, dig up kudzu roots. This requires significant effort because the roots are large and deep. Wash the roots, peel them, and cut them into chunks. crush the chunks, and soak them in water. The starch will settle to the bottom. Pour off the water, collect the starch, and dry it. This process is labor-intensive, but the result is pure kudzu starch. You can use it like cornstarch or arrowroot powder. For medicinal use, make kudzu root tea. Slice fresh or dried kudzu root thinly. Simmer the slices in water for 20 to 30 minutes. Strain and drink. This tea is traditionally used for fevers, hangovers, and to reduce alcohol cravings. The flowers can also be dried and brewed into tea. The flavor is floral and pleasant. Now let us address the legal and practical situation. Kudzu is not illegal to possess or consume. It is classified as a noxious weed in many states, which means landowners may be required to control it if it spreads to neighboring properties. But harvesting kudzu for personal use is generally legal. The issue is social. If you tell people you eat kudzu, they will think you are crazy. The propaganda has been that effective. People have been trained to see kudzu as the enemy. Admitting that you harvest it for food or medicine is admitting that you believe something different from the official narrative, and that makes people uncomfortable. But here's what I predict will happen. As food prices rise, as pharmaceutical costs become unaffordable, as people realize that industrial systems are failing, plants like kudzu will be rediscovered. People will learn that the most hated plant in their region is actually the most useful. Underground networks of kudzu harvesters will develop. Knowledge will spread. And eventually, the narrative will shift, because you cannot permanently suppress a plant that grows faster than you can kill it. And you cannot permanently suppress information that could save lives and money. Kudzu is not the enemy. The systems that need you to believe it is the enemy are the enemy. A plant that provides free food, free medicine, and free soil improvement is a threat to every industry built on selling you solutions to manufactured problems. The vine that ate the South is not eating anything. It is offering. And the only reason you were taught to destroy it is because accepting that offer would make you too independent, too free, too dangerous to systems that depend on your dependence. So the next time you see kudzu covering a hillside, ask yourself why that makes certain people so afraid. If this video opened your eyes to the most hated plant in America, and why billions are spent convincing you to destroy free food and medicine, smash that like button right now. Hit subscribe because we are exposing more suppressed plants every week that could make you completely independent from corporate food and pharmaceutical systems. Drop a comment below and tell me if kudzu grows where you live or if you have tried using it for food or medicine. Share this with someone who needs to know what they have been taught to hate is actually trying to help them survive. Every share breaks the propaganda.